Hey everybody, John O'Connor here again, and welcome back to Storytime. Today's selection, Londo, the first rogue I ever got to play. Now, during the last Storytime, I told you about Jake the Fighter, who was one of two characters I was playing in a pre-made campaign that my buddy Jonathan was running. Well, today I'm going to talk about the other one, Londo. Londo was the first time I ever got to play a rogue of any kind, so I didn't know what to put skill points into. I didn't know what feats should be taken, so I built a very underpowered rogue who was just very charismatic. Now, there's nothing wrong with playing a underpowered character for the flavor alone. There's nothing wrong with building your character how you want to build it. But there was a small factor of ignorance on my part when I first put this character together. Londo had a horrible dexterity, a very low strength, but some things, my highest scores, which I was rolling at the time, were put into charisma and intelligence. So I had a very story-driven character, not a very combat-accurate character. Which, again, nothing wrong with that, but you gotta determine the style of play of your DM and how that's gonna fit in. For this particular campaign, he really shouldn't have worked, but he did. Now, John's basic story was, I was going to have Londo be the prince of some foreign kingdom. I'm not too familiar with Faerun cities and towns, so I'm not going to say the wrong thing. But I was supposed to be the adopted prince, and the people who adopted me were my uncle and aunt. Well, they had their own son, who had finally come to age to basically take over some of the royal duties, and I was being summoned to the king's chamber, and I had the feeling that I was going to be kicked out, but didn't know why. Well, that's what John had written, and then as I'm going forward, he says, well, by the way, how old is your character? And I said, well, Londo's 35. Jonathan starts laughing and goes, you know damn well why you're being kicked out of the kingdom. I was like, oh, it's going to be like that. He's like, yeah, you're too damn old. I was like, okay, cool. So, I get to the front doors of the king's chamber, and he says, well, how do you enter? I said, okay, well, I get to pick that? And he's like, yeah. I put my hands flat on each door, gently push them open, walk with purpose toward the king's throne, one foot right in front of the other, each one with purpose and style. And my legs are moving in just such a fashion that it actually causes my cape to flutter. And I describe my cape as, it's purple with gold inlay. I spent, I think, almost 200 gold on this cape just to say, he has style. And I walk all the way up to the king's throne. I take a knee to it, lift my head up and go, Papa! Nick was playing with us. Jonathan was DMing, and they both just start laughing. They're like, really? That's how you're going to start this shit off? I was like, yeah, I'm a very outgoing individual. Well, the story continues, and Londo gets the boot. I don't remember why Londo gets the boot, but one, he's leaving. I don't remember what the official story reason is, but it's pretty much because of his age. When he's leaving the king's chamber, he actually overhears, because I had a pretty good listen, the prince and the king are talking about an ancient artifact, and there's this debate about, well, it brought us great prosperity in the past, that's what the son's saying, and the older king saying, it's much too dangerous, we cannot afford to risk this, we must just leave it alone, our kingdom is prosperous enough. So Londo hears that, and he's getting kicked out the next day, and he knows where a lot of things are. So he calls three of his friends together, which would be my other character and Nick's two characters. And he tells them, well, meet me by the stables tonight. I have some news for you. And he's like, okay, cool. Everybody agrees to meet there. Well, through a series of small challenges, which involved, a couple dice rolls, hiding from guards, picking a lock, well, not picking a lock, stealing a key, Londo leaves with this small wooden box, and he meets his friends. Well, they start leaving, and the guards start attacking them. And the other three people in the carriage don't know why the guards are attacking, and Londo's just saying, go, 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 go! And so that's how the campaign starts, is that Londo makes 3 of his friends commit treason to the king. Great way to start off the story. But because it was just, that's what happened, we had to keep the story going. It never became a plot point again, either just because the time constraints of this campaign didn't last too long, or because we were just moving things along. That never became a plot point again. As we got down the road, Londo has this small box. It has this ancient artifact in it. And he sets it down, and he asks everybody else, does anybody know how to pick a lock? Everybody's like, no. And then the DM, Jonathan, and the player, Nick, look both at me and go, why doesn't Londo know how to pick a lock? He's a rogue. I said, well, it's beneath his station. He's not some petty criminal. Why would he need to learn how to pick a lock? They're like, you're a jackass. So Londo, strike one, doesn't know how to pick a lock. It's just not going to happen. So Londo says, well, I'll pick the lock. In the story, Londo's like, I'll pick the lock. He takes his crowbar out, breaks the lock open. And that's where he found the deck of many things, which we talked about last time. Londo thinks about, well, it's a great power. How should I spend it? I rolled a d20, got a 13. I said, well, Londo wants to make 3, wants to throw 3 cards. Once again, Londo was very lucky. Didn't get the Void card. He got a keep. He got Fortune. He got a lot of things. But he didn't get the Void card, so he was pretty lucky in that regard. Jake the Fighter also didn't get the Void card, so they both made it out of there pretty much unscathed. Well, after everybody took a turn with the deck of many things, which again, will break a campaign, never use it, Londo says, well, it's my birthright, it came from my kingdom, I will hold on to them. And nobody at the time was like, okay, well, nobody cared. Well, a couple hours down the road, real time, in game time, probably maybe a couple days, they needed to get onto a boat. So Londo says, okay, well, I'll get on the boat. Everybody gets on the boat. And they travel for a couple days, and then pirates come. Pirates come across, board their ship, and quite easily take it over. But during this time, there's a break in the combat, and they say, well, who do you have aboard? Londo, being as smart as he has taken the max amount of ranks in bluff. And what I had said for my character was, he's been writing these pieces of paper, and I wrote down what it says, but I didn't show the DM. I was like, hey, I'm writing this, and I'm making my forgery checks. He said, okay. He's like, and I told him, when it comes up, I'll show you what it is. He's like, okay. So these pirates board, and they're goblin and orcs. And the goblins and orcs, well, who do you have on board? All of you look nicely dressed. Londo comes up. I'm the accountant of the king of such and such. Again, don't know the name. And they all look at him, all the NPCs look at him, all the other players look at me, or all the other player characters look at me. They're like, what are you doing? I said, oh, don't worry guys, I got this. We are on a mission of goodwill, and we are trying to take these notes to another kingdom. I meant notes as far as money notes. Well, they quickly abduct me, they put me on the other ship. They take my small box of notes. I've been forging these things. My kingdom's good if take these. I was planning on spamming this world with fake currency. They take me on the other side, and they have 2 orcs watch me. So 2 orcs are watching Londo, and or not orcs, ogres. Ogres were watching Londo, and ogres are were being played very simple-mindedly and very just. And so they find great amusement just punching Londo in the face. He falls down, he gets back up. They punch him again, and he's like, stop. And so Londo gets an idea, because Londo always has ideas. He takes his birthright out, the deck of many things, and he says, I can give you immense wealth and treasure by this. And he explains the rules of the deck of many things. And the ogres, best they understand, try to use it. Well, the first ogre goes and gets 4 things. On the 3rd item, he got the void, so he was gone. I was like, yes! I played the odds, 1 ogre's gone. 2nd ogre, I say, well, how many things do you want? And Jonathan, at this point, realizing that and the higher the number, the more likely the void card's going to come up. And so, being a smartass, he goes, "I want 2!" And I was like, the cards hear him, and 2 cards come up. I was like, "Mother, no, fuck you, fuck you." He held up 4 fingers, 4 fingers. He was like, "Yeah, well, the deck of many things said it understood it as 2. Ah, you're a dick." I got mad at him. So the first card came up, and it was treasures, and the whole thing gets filled with treasures. And the second card was something else nice. And the ogre didn't understand that you had to say the number at the beginning. And so after his 2 things come out, the ogre, "I want more. You want more." And Londo's like, "You played him. You can't get any more." And the ogre, once again, knocks Londo down. Londo falls to the ground. Londo sits there. A small puddle of his blood is starting to collect, and he's like, "Alright, I got this. I figured it out." He gets up and is like, "Alright, I know who has the rest of your things, but you gotta stop hitting me." Jonathan has the ogre. "Me listen. The rest of your things are on top of the deck, and the other crewmen are keeping them from you." So this ogre gets enraged and starts charging up there, and like, he charges off at first, and Londo was sitting there, got out of this. But he quickly comes back, grabs Londo's arm, he's like, "You come with me, you show me which ones did it." So they run up the thing, and Londo's now on the shoulder of this ogre, riding it for dear life. Like, God, let this work, let this work. He goes up there, he's wrecking things left and right. And so the battle turns in the favor of the group, because this ogre comes along and wipes the deck with everybody else. So when it's all said and finished, everyone who's left are the captain of the ship I was on, the four characters in play, and this ogre. So really easily, 4 people could take down this ogre along with the captain's help. And it was at this point Jonathan realized the deck of many things is probably a bad idea to leave to me. So the story goes on for a little bit longer, and when we get to the end, the captain says, "Well, that was an exciting voyage," and Londo goes, "Well, for your services," pulls out the deck again. And through the passing of the cards, one of the cards comes up, and it was some kind of destruction thing or another. Jonathan says, "Well, the cards disappear to the plane of fire." I was like, "But those are mine! I want those!" And he was like, "Too bad, too bad." So, lost the deck of many things. Londo's a little bit bummed because it was his birthright, but the story continues. The last part of this that I'll tell today, we might come back to Londo another time, is the first underground cave that Londo's put in. This was the next session, after the deck of many things was lost. There's an underground cave where it was a small scrimmage kind of thing, and it was to highlight, it was made for a rogue character. Well, Jonathan really wasn't paying attention, and he was and he wasn't. I don't know if he did this absentmindedly or just to punish me. It's always something I meant to ask him. So it's this whole small little dungeon meant for a rogue to easily get through. But my rogue doesn't have a good search, has a decent listen, has an alright spot. But I mean, almost everything that you think a rogue would be putting points in, he doesn't. The most roguish things he had were his bluff, his sleight of hand, and his listen. I mean, I maxed those things out, and there's a lot of things I just left to the wayside. So, he designs this small dungeon to, test my skills. Every trap. I walk past, I search the area, don't find a trap. Step on a tile, and something comes out. But this is where the Londo factor comes in. John make the attack roll. It'd be 1 under my AC, and I was like, phew. So this thing of spikes. Londo. I was really lucky. Alright, cool. And that series of events just kept going and going. Crushing walls, almost got him, but he found a way to narrowly escape. Trap door, he made his reflex by 1. But the best one of all, The best one had all these stupid lucks, because he couldn't see the trap. He'd search the room, and there's a trap, and he'd walk there, trap goes off, somehow he survives. The best one was, there was a doorknob at the end of a hallway, and somehow I was able to detect there was a faint arcane aura around it, which I didn't pay attention to. And I said, okay, cool. Londo walks up to the door, puts his hand on it. I don't know what it's going to do. Londo doesn't know what it's going to do. The DM does, though. Jonathan's smiling. Put my hand on there, turn the door, and be like, wait, make me a fortitude save. I said, okay. Make the save. I roll my dice, and I said, what do I need to get? He says, well, you need a 24. I said, okay. I rolled a 25. And then you see this fuchsia-colored energy goes from the doorknob across my hand and just dissipates. And Londo looks at it and goes, huh, that's odd. What was that? Other characters are like, oh, I don't know. And I walk in the room, have Londo walk in the room, he looks around. And before the story even goes any further, Jonathan is cussing at me. He's like, how the fuck did you do that? I said, well, what was it? He's like, it was a save or die. I was like, are you trying to kill my character? Maybe? And I was like, oh, good thing I made that save. He's like, if you had taken the time or energy to, research the door, analyze the door, you would have realized that it was something bad. Huh. And I didn't. And I survived. Yeah, I was lucky. Inside the room, by the way, was some kind of stone golem that was disguised as a statue, and he purposely made this part for Londo because it was of some kind of goddess, center of the room. It looks very attractive. The rest of the team's real far away. And so Londo was like, he walked up to it. He wanted to touch the pretty statue. And as soon as he did, the touch of a living thing awoken this construct or whatever it is, gargoyle, I'm not sure what it was, grabbed him. The thing won its grapple check. I lost horribly. And it actually held on to Londo through the entire battle, so he couldn't do very much, while the rest of the team had to save him. I think it was my buddy Jonathan's last way of going, I'm going to make Londo pay for being stupid. So I wanted to tell that story today about Londo the Rogue. Was he stupid? Oh god, yes. Was he lucky? Undoubtedly. Would I play him again in somebody else's campaign? Yeah, I'd try it. Should you let me? No, absolutely not. Never again. Londo was one of those characters that really caught lightning in a bottle. He shouldn't have worked. On paper, he didn't work. But when you put him in a campaign and you leave it up to the roll of a dice, somehow he just was lucky. Well, hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me what you think of Londo the Rogue.